subscribe to this channel right now. When you type in the words Trump and then another word for informant, you get Congressman Matt Gaetz. You get the search. The first thing you get is an article that is shared by Congressman Matt Gaetz on the U.S. Congressman's website. Some colleagues suspicious of, let's just say, an informant within the law enforcement or the security apparatus that is protecting Trump. Okay, so that's the first thing you get on a search of the words Trump, and then another word that I'm not going to use right now, but we'll just say informant. Then, of course, there's a Vanity Fair article, report, an extra paranoid Trump team is freaking out because there was an informant linked to the absurd documents case in Mar-a-Lago. There was an informant linked to the origins of the Trump, in the investigations into Trump being a Kremlin operative. None of these things panned out for Democrats. They were all pretty much failures. Trump had the power to declassify as a president. Furthermore, the special counsel was deemed illegal. And so the documents case was tossed out by the judge in Florida. Of course, Democrats were unhappy with that because it didn't go their way. So therefore, the judge was biased. But when the judges, convict Trump, well, then you know what? It's about the rule of law. So it's just a matter of if it benefits one political party or not. But anyway, very likely they've narrowed down 1 or 10 individuals that could have been the informant. According to Congressman Gaetz and others, that is a huge, huge issue right now. Let's get to some analysis of this. Hit subscribe right now.
The former president has responded to the shooting, writing, "There were gunshots in my vicinity, but before rumors start spiraling out of control, I wanted you to hear this first. I am safe and well. Nothing will slow me down. I will never surrender." Joining us now is Mark Levin, host of Life, Liberty, and Levin, and former chief of staff to Attorney General Edwin Meese in the Reagan administration. Thank you for coming on this evening. I just want to start with getting your insights on what has been a truly remarkable day.
Well, let's start this way. Thank you. Who's in charge? Who's in charge? We don't have any idea who's in charge. Who's in charge of protecting a presidential candidate in this country?
So Mark Levin asked a very important question, gets to the possibility of informants or people that are sharing information with, let's just say, bad actors. So you have to ask, how on earth is there 2 attempts on Trump's life where the people trying to take Trump's life know exactly where he is? So the first attempt, that security perimeter was shorter than 150 yards, which is completely absurd. And there was a clear line of sight. So was it incompetence or was there something intentional in nature? Of course, we very likely know the answer to that. And then the second attempt, it's like, okay, how do you not have drone footage? How do you not have, agents all over the perimeter of the golf course? And eventually you'll see the map of the golf course right now. Hit subscribe if you're new.
Well, we can talk about the Secret Service, the FBI, DHS. And listen to all your great hosts with their tremendous experience. And it is fascinating to me. I'm a little older. I served in the Reagan administration. I was chief of staff to Attorney General Meese. And let me tell you what would have happened in that administration. Ronald Reagan would have picked up the phone. He would have called Attorney General Meese. He would have said, "You're in charge of getting to the bottom of this, and you got 48 hours to do it." Meese, who I worked next to, he would have called the Treasury Secretary. He would have called every department that has any role in federal law enforcement. FBI reports to him. He would have dragged Christopher Wray up there. He would have brought in the U.S. Marshals. He would have brought them all in. Secret Service, Secretary of DHS. we would have been in the Situation Room with the United States Department of Justice. And Ed Meisler said to all those gathered, you better GD get to the bottom of this, and you have 48 hours to report to me, and I want to know how you're going to fix this. And I want to know right away how you're going to fix this. Twice on our watch? Never. Instead, we have very wise people who've worked at the FBI, who've worked at Secret Service, who've worked in local law enforcement. Where's the Secret Service? Where's the FBI? Nobody is in charge because we have a president of the United States who's mentally incapacitated. We have a vice president of the United States who's an incompetent, way over her head. We have an attorney general of the United States who just held a press event the other day about violence, and he's, what, in the witness protection program, the top 3 people in charge of law enforcement in the United States of America. 2 of them tweeted, 1 of them did nothing. Now, this isn't about tweeting. Oh, I'm so glad that President Trump is well. Well, isn't that nice? The executive branch is run by the President of the United States. Number 2, the Vice President of the United States. Federal law enforcement, ultimately, the Attorney General of the United States. And they're all AWOL. They're nowhere. So it's perfectly fine if we keep banging heads about the head of the Secret Service, the head of the FBI. These are bureaucrats mostly. Mayorkas, we know what he is. He's a complete incompetent buffoon. But where the hell is the president, the vice president who wants to be president, and the attorney general?
Well, there's zero reason. Well, there's zero desire from Democrats or from Harris or Biden or anyone within their administration of finding out exactly what took place. They really don't care. In fact, there are probably a great many within the Democratic Party, within media, among the morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats in this country who unfortunately wanted these assailants, these madmen, to be successful. So that's what we're dealing with. We have a nation where, whereas before, let's say in the 80s and 90s, you had people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. So we've gone from a country where in the 1980s and 1990s, you had people who remembered the Great Depression. That was something that unified all Americans. World War II, the Great Depression. And those were the defining moments of their lives, whether they were Democrat or Republican. And that defined that defined everyone. That was something, a shared experience that made people understand politics is just one element, one aspect of life. It's not that important whether you're left or right, as long as you want what's best for the country. Now, the defining moment for a great many Americans is Trump defeating Clinton. That's their Great Depression. That's the most traumatic experience for, unfortunately, millions of Americans. Not the Great Depression, not World War II, not Vietnam. Trump defeating Clinton. Or Trump's rhetoric, which is amplified a million times by media deliberately to make you demonize, to make you feel that Trump is the worst person on the planet. And they say, well, Trump's rhetoric caused all of this. No, it didn't. When the media wants to silence anyone, let's say critics of 4 years ago of everything these wonderful bureaucrats and the experts and all the very smart people did to our country, they are silenced immediately. When people wanted to talk about Hunter's laptop, you weren't able to. You were silenced. The reason that they amplify Trump's divisive and polarizing rhetoric is a self-serving, sinister public relations objective to demonize Trump and to make Democrats look good. Then you have Madam Secretary saying, oh, nobody knows how to cover Trump. It's like, they're doing so for self-serving purposes to help the Democratic Party. That's why whenever Biden or Harris either say something that is absurd or don't say anything or hide from the media, no one talks about it. I mean, it was almost 4 years of a complete cover-up where Biden was just not able to communicate. And then suddenly the world saw him in a debate, and then suddenly Harris became the nominee, and then suddenly, anyway, you know the whole history of things. Nicholas, these attempts on Don are getting out of hand. Maybe we should form a, it's Nicholas, thank you. I think he needs to get Nicholas. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you so much. Nicholas in Australia and Paul Bartlett and everybody here, thank you. To my viewers in Australia, thank you so much. I think what needs to happen is he needs to get private security in addition to the Secret Service.
Who has done absolutely nothing to get his hands around this. Now, I'm telling you this as somebody who served at the highest level of the Department of Justice, that justice wouldn't sit back and wait for a local special agent in charge in Miami to take over. They'd be sending guys in there from Washington, D.C. And Meese would have wanted a report every hour on the damn hour. And he'd want to know what we're going to do to fix this. And I can also tell you that the first time around this would have happened had Meese been the Attorney General, Reagan been the President of the United States. So this is all evidence to me when I listen to everybody, and they're all fantastic. But it's all evidence to me of Keystone Cops. Who's in charge of what? Well, it depends. This one should have done that. This should have done. No, we need a general who's in charge and says, I want to know who the hell screwed up.
Attention.
Know what the hell we're going to do to fix this next time, what resources we need. And I don't want to hear again that the Secret Service doesn't have resources. We're $5 trillion in debt with this administration. Maybe a little bit of that climate change money or money going to illegal aliens. Maybe that money could have been moved into the Secret Service. I have no idea. But we have no time to figure all that out. We have 50 days until a presidential election. Let me ask you a question.
God forbid, do you think there could be a third, God forbid, attempt? Okay? A fourth or fifth? I mean, this is something that when President Trump becomes president, because I don't think this type of thing happens with somebody who's going to lose. Okay? The machine indicted, convicted, they accused him of being a Kremlin operative. He wasn't. They indicted and convicted him. It didn't matter. There have been 2 attempts on his life. Thank God unsuccessful, although a firefighter his life was taken. It's interesting how Democrats don't bring that up. It's like so nefarious how they pick and choose the outrage. 4 years ago, when you had billions in property damage and law enforcement officials injured everywhere throughout the country, including D.C., not one word was mentioned by Kinzinger, Cheney, or anyone on that January panel. Not one word. And then, that terrible day in January, suddenly they love law enforcement. And again, I agree with why people peacefully demonstrated 4 years ago, but there was billions in property damage, curfews every night, and there was a great percentage of it was not peaceful, obviously. Democrats said nothing. And I don't understand how as a country you could turn the page on an entire summer of devastation or 2 attempts on Trump's life. I mean, this is like, but you know what? Trump, when he wins, if he doesn't engage in reciprocal democratic behavior, legal reciprocal statecraft, which is what Democrats are known for because they're so lawful and they uphold the Constitution, the country's in bad shape. If he doesn't do exactly the legal, just, and moral things that they've done to him, we're in bad shape if he doesn't act in a reciprocal manner.
Does Joe Biden seem that concerned tonight? Where is he? Does Kamala Harris seem that concerned tonight? Well, she tweeted. Isn't that nice? I tweeted too. So what? The Attorney General of the United States, does he seem that concerned tonight? No. They just don't give a you-know-what, and they won't take charge of this. So the executive branch is running adrift. That is what's happening. Every part of it, including the best parts of it, the federal law enforcement parts of it, they're now running adrift. I speak as a former person who served at the highest level of the Department of Justice.
So, Mark, Charlie Hurt here. Obviously, you're exactly right about President Biden being completely MIA and has been for a long time in the presidency. But we're sort of back at this. After the Butler, Pennsylvania shooting, there was all of this professed unity where President Biden and others talked about how they were going to lower the rhetoric. But now we're back to where you have.
By the way, that's the reason they're calling Trump weird, because they can't say he's a threat to democracy and to everything good, and he, devoured Christmas and all of this. So they're calling him weird now. Okay, so they actually had to ratchet down their apoplectic rhetoric. But it's like, if any, I don't think Trump is weird. I think it's his political opponents, very much so. But again, it's like, what happens in November, there's hopefully Trump, his team, Republicans, Republican parties in very important key swing states understood that there can't be a repeat of 4 years ago, which was a very, very lawful and just and legal. And there was no illegal activity. We know this. We know that there was no illegal activity at all, and it was fair and just like what took place with Biden and Harris, and just like what took place with Bernie Sanders 8 years ago. Everything was above board. But you can't have it the same way again, state Republican parties. So hopefully you learned something.
Democrats issuing tweets saying that they're glad that the guy they called last week Hitler survived another assassination attempt. Mm-hmm. It strikes me that maybe they didn't really mean it when they said it 6 weeks ago.
Of course they don't mean it. If you watch MSNBC for about 15 minutes, the hate and the drivel and the contempt that pours out of their pores from Joy Reid and, don't get me started with a long list. CNN, so contemptible. Every time they mention Trump's name, they have this constipated look on their face, like it's unbearable. The way that you have prosecutors talk about Donald Trump, elected prosecutors and a Garland-appointed prosecutor, the things that they say in their briefs are so horrendous. What some of these judges have to say, the Democrat Party controls the culture, they control the media, they control the propaganda, they now control many of the court systems, and that's exactly what you're seeing. You're seeing a one-party monopolistic system. And people have written about this long before me who've gone through these various...
But you could very well have the Supreme Court give Trump the victory because of shenanigans, or I should say very, very legal and above-board activity in places like Pennsylvania and other states. So be here November 5th. November 3rd, 4th, November 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. I'm not joking about this. They have to be certified in numerous states. The 15th is the last day. Things must be decided. Be here every single day. I mean, our live streams will be epic. I think I'll certainly do uploads. But I'll do live streams huge. These will be epic live streams. And just be here, ladies and gentlemen. Trump will win. Okay, Trump will win. That was a unique set of circumstances 4 years ago. Very unique. And then they barely won. So it took a long time. And I don't think Democrats have the same set of circumstances that they need to defeat Trump. Again, I don't believe any of the polls. I think the polls are complete nonsense. Again, I don't think that, there's efforts to take Trump's life when the system believes that he's going to lose.
Regimes, totalitarian regimes, their use of words, creating devil terms and angel terms. Trump's always the devil. Kamala Harris is the angel. And you can see this endless propaganda and contempt. And by the way, they hate you and me, too. They've made it abundantly clear they hate at least half the country. So, of course, this contributes to the nut jobs out there and so forth. But still, I don't know how much we can do to fix that. I do know we can do something to fix the executive branch. And we got to boot these people out as fast as possible, take these agencies back. We need to fumigate them. We need to get people in there who are serious public servants and civil servants. We need to put competent people in senior positions. We need to take the FBI back. We need to take all these federal agencies, and particularly the police agencies, back. We need to take the Department of Justice back. And we can do that in the next election, because right now they're completely and utterly either out of control or rudderless.
Mark, it's Joe Concha. I'm going to read a quote from Lester Holt, who was reporting on this assassination attempt, again, the second in 64 days. Here's what he said tonight on the NBC Nightly News, and you're going to get a real kick out of this. Quote, today's apparent assassination attempt comes amid increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail. Mr. Trump, his running mate J.D. Vance, continue to make baseless claims about Haitian immigrants in Springfield.
Okay, so the media knows what it's doing. If there are baseless claims that Trump or Vance have made, why continue to give not only the claims a platform, but to amplify and echo these claims every single day to serve as almost a megaphone? So on one hand, you have morally superior liberal Democrats who say Trump is demonizing people. Okay, when media wants to silence anything it doesn't like, whether it's Hunter's laptop or any critics of 4 years ago, shutting down the economy. Okay, nobody hears a word from anyone that media wants to silence. When media wants to amplify and take things out of context or, sensationalize, they continue to do so. If indeed Trump's words were hurting human beings, why would media not silence these words like they do with everyone they don't like? Any critic of Hunter's laptop was completely and utterly censored and silenced. Any critic of the experts 4 years ago was silenced and excommunicated and committed blasphemy and heresy, and you didn't hear from them. You can't even talk about two things in particular, foreign policy and a scientific issue on this platform or a lot of platforms. That's not part of the guidelines. You simply, you will be silenced. Or it's just not part of the guidelines. These are private platforms. Media is composed of private companies. Why are they continually amplifying exactly the rhetoric they think Trump's saying that's so divisive and polarizing and dangerous? Because it's self-serving, ladies and gentlemen. Self-serving. It is self-serving, and they're doing so on purpose. They're playing this very disingenuous game at the expense and keeping and putting Trump's life at risk with this dangerous game.
Former Homeland Security Advisor and former Secret Service Special Agent Chuck Marino. Chuck, we're so grateful to have you on the show. Thank you so much. So, Chuck, what do you make of what's going on? Is former President Trump getting the security he needs? Is he now in danger? Because DHS Secretary Mayorkas is pretty AWOL on this.
Well, it's apparent that he's not getting the proper protection that he needs, and the Secret Service is stuck in this bureaucratic way of providing protective resources and operational plans based on the title of former president, when they should be providing resources and creating operational security plans based on the threat environment, based on the threat level of the former president. And the fact that he's not just a former president, he's also the Republican nominee. And he's also got threats, not just domestic, but also from foreign adversaries, including from Iran. So he should be at the highest level that there is. Whether that mirrors the presidential level or exceeds that, it doesn't matter. This should all be based on threats. And because it's not, They're missing things on the outer perimeter. We are having the same conversations right now that we had in Butler, Pennsylvania, regarding this outer perimeter. And I'll tell you, we can't always rely on this inner perimeter detail that's assigned to the former president full time to catch this every time. They are being set up for failure. The Secret Service needs to build deterrence around the former president. The outer perimeter should have been covered. There's no way this guy should have been embedded for 12 hours awaiting to attack.
Yeah, he reportedly waited for 12 hours outside the golf course. I mean, that's a long time to be at the perimeter. I mean, is it odd that he knew Trump would be at the golf course? We're hearing was not on the public schedule, because if it wasn't for that Secret Service agent, that one guy who spotted the gun, Trump may be dead. I mean, lawmakers like Elise Stefanik are asking, how is he allowed to get that close to Trump about 400 yards away with an assault rifle and a scope?
Well, that's the question. And I think in terms of your question of how did he know to go there, I think he was playing a game of probabilities. And that is, even though this was an off the record movement, this was still a favorite location of the former president to go golf anytime he was in West Palm Beach.
Or somehow, some way, information was relayed to him. If you look at this person's look, this kind of public relations, the photo op that this person on the left who wanted to, harm Trump, this is the look of not only a madman, but it's the look of a man that knows his face is going to be plastered all over the world. He wants people to, he's speaking to the morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats in this country. The man on the left in the police car. There's a look of confidence, a look of, this, it's the type of look that a person gives when he's either committed or committing an evil act, or after he has committed an evil act, not understanding that it's sinister and nefarious and thinking that it's just and virtuous and will help the world in some way. The man on the left thinks that he, like a higher power or that a higher cause is propelling him to do what he almost did. So you're talking about indoctrination times a million. And like one of the manifesto was, Trump wanted to get us out of the Iran deal. Well, that's what's called democracy. It's you choose a president because you want a different foreign policy. End of story. That's why you choose a president. That's why you go to the store and get, a different brand of ketchup or whatever. Like, you have choices. You can you can listen to rock music, rap music. You have choices in this country. You could vote Democrat, Republican, Green Party, whatever. You have choices in this country. We'd still be in Vietnam if it was up to people like the gentleman on the left. Oh, he didn't like Trump's foreign policy decisions. Okay, then vote for Harris, which by the way, his value system on the guy on the left, his value system directly correlates to left-leaning ideology. Not 1 ounce of outrage, no vitriol, no venom, no indignation from the left. No looking in the mirror. And by the way, if it was the opposite, and he wanted a border wall, this guy on the left, oh my God, all of Trump's values would be demonized, and they already accuse the Republicans of political chaos, and they're the ones with billions and billions in property damage 4 years ago.
And so
and 2 attempts on Trump's life.
It's predictable, whether it's on the record or off the record. Predictability is the adversary of the Secret Service. And what he did was he set up and lied in wait on the off chance that the former president would come. And let's make no mistake about it, whether it's a current president or former president, with the protection that the former President Trump has, it's no longer a secret once they arrive at a location. So once that secret is out, the suspect knew that the former president was there and just waited to take a shot. And luckily for that agent that saw that barrel of that gun through the fence, this would have been a totally different story.
A catastrophe. You know, he was convicted of possessing a weapon of mass destruction in 2002, reportedly a fully automatic machine gun. He reportedly was well known in North Carolina, so much so that cops would get alerts about him, allegedly related to weapons and explosives. But somehow, the New York Times, Newsweek, and other media interviewed him. This suspect also had tweeted, "Democracy is on the ballot. We cannot lose." He's reiterating Biden and Harris talking points. He in fact, show the tweets. He urged Biden and Harris to visit those injured at the Trump rally.
Yeah, it sounds familiar, the rhetoric, doesn't it? And the problem is Democrats don't realize the ears that these talking points are falling on. And this is a perfect example. You've got somebody who may not be all there, but can still formulate a plan of attack. And this is the scariest situation for the Secret Service.
Chuck, you were terrific tonight.
It makes
This commercial is fantastic. I'm very upset that billionaires pay less taxes than me. Like, no, billionaires don't pay less taxes. But, I mean, do you own a whole bunch of real estate and a whole bunch of stocks and other investments that perhaps you could take write-offs on? I mean, that's the issue here. Democrats did not change the tax code. So all the billionaires that give to Democrats still pay the same percentage in terms of their investment, in terms of taxes. So it's like, do you want to hire? We had greater wealth with Trump. Greater wealth. We had record highs in household median income, record lows in poverty with Trump. With low unemployment, record low unemployment, and low interest rates and low inflation. The opposite is true with Biden and Harris. That's why Trump and every poll regarding the economy is up 20 points.
Matthew, great to see you. One question that was not answered in that press conference was, how did Ralph know President Trump was going to be golfing on Sunday at that golf course, and how he knew that he could set up the target of the former president? They didn't answer that. And we also found out that, well, he was a convicted felon, shouldn't have had a firearm, but there was a 2019 tip previously that was called in to the FBI that the FBI passed along to local law enforcement that this convicted felon might have had a firearm. This is local law enforcement in Hawaii. Well, didn't prevent him from getting a firearm in Florida. Now, did it?
No, it didn't. Dagan, good to be with you and Charlie. You know, this case obviously has a lot of unanswered questions, as you point out, but we still don't know enough from the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt. Now, twice, Donald Trump has almost been murdered because of the failures of the leadership at the Secret Service. And they're just not addressing the threats. They're not allocating resources to the threats. And that's leaving President Trump exposed way more than he ever should be. You know, I was just with him Saturday night right before this. And, you know, it certainly felt like the Secret Service had beefed up the protection at that event. But however, it's very clear to me that there is a lack of imagination on behalf of the folks at the Secret Service that are leading to get the right posture to protect President Trump.
So has there been anything in watching these press conferences down in Florida that gives you any hope whatsoever that Secret Service has learned any lessons from Butler?
Well, Charlie, that's a good question. And I would say no, because we have somebody with a long rifle within hundreds of yards of President Trump. And so to me, it seems like they continue to miss the planning opportunities. I mean, obviously, the agents on the ground are doing an exceptional job. For this agent to see the gun pointed out of the fence and to take immediate action.
And again, any mole or informant I'm talking about is not the individual agents protecting Trump. God bless the men and women protecting and risking their lives for Trump. I'm talking about the men and women that are, armed and willing to surround Trump and willing to protect him at all times. So God bless these people. The informant could be anyone in a bureaucratic position, sitting in a desk. It could be anyone in Washington, D.C. It could be anyone that is within a government agency that doesn't like Trump. Okay? This isn't rocket science. It could be somebody within Trump's campaign that loves Trump, that is loyal to Trump, that perhaps speaks to somebody because they have to, for whatever purpose, not knowing that that person is then relaying information to a bunch of other people. You know, there's really not, there's no question that there are a bunch of people involved in all of these, terrible situations.
Action. I mean, that is obviously bravery at its heart. And then for the local sheriff's deputies to pull over this car in the maneuver that they accomplished. I mean, there's a lot to celebrate, a lot of bravery on behalf of the men and women of law enforcement. But it just, again, I think it is Secret Service is obviously not doing the job at the planning phase in Washington, D.C. And, they can have hard conversations with Congress. How about the first hard conversation is giving Congress all the information they're requesting about the Butler assassination attempt?
Let's move on to this, Matt. Yet again, the left, the liberals, the Democrats pretending to be shocked, aghast, coming out with statements railing against political violence after painting Donald Trump as Hitler, the devil, you name it, any chance and they could get.
Right now, I feel like MAGA in general, they are threats to us domestically, and we see it time and time again.
What is so threatening about record low poverty, record highs in household median income, a great foreign policy that brings Americans home from numerous theaters of conflict, endless theaters of conflict that Democrats and old school Republicans got us into? What is so bad about that? We had record low poverty with Trump. We had record highs in household median income in 2019 that we still haven't reached. We had mortgage rates that were less than half of what they are now, even with the rate cuts. So what's the problem with Make America Great Again? My God. Democrats and media have created a caricature of what they wish Make America Great Again was.
There is a causal connection between the BS that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump spew and the safety and security of the American people.
Donald Trump and J.D. Vance operate in delusion, and they operate in distraction and deflection from their dangerous and deeply unpopular policies.
Everywhere he goes,
Their policies are very popular. That's why, despite having pretty much zero support by media within media, almost 96% negative media coverage, Trump is still up in swing states. He's still up in the polls. Why is that? Because his policies are extremely popular.
talking America everywhere he goes because he doesn't believe in us.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy.
An existential threat to our democracy. This vice president did not even win a Democratic primary. The vice president did not even win a Democratic primary. It was Joe Biden who won the primary. Joe Biden won his primary, was ousted by Harris and Democrats and media, and then Trump is the existential threat to democracy. They didn't even have a functioning primary based on any semblance of meritocracy. Then they cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. Same thing. But I mean, tell me how Harris is even running for president. She didn't even win a primary. So how could she talk about democracy?
And our most fundamental freedoms.
He's a genuine danger to American security.
If he's a genuine problem to American security, how come we have so many wars under your watch? Oh, that's right. Because Democrats are fine with that.
And never forget this, when the current Democratic nominee for president of the United States wished Trump dead on a talk show.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be?
Does one of us have to come out alive?
And it was just last week, the Washington Post basically told President Trump to stop yapping about the threats on his life. I want Charlie to take this. But again, Republicans, Donald Trump are a threat to the lives of America. But you accuse the left and their rhetoric of causing the assassination attempt on President Trump. How dare you, Matt Whitaker? You take it.
Oh, it seems kind of amazing the degree to which when you have a campaign that is not based on any issues whatsoever, except attacking your opponent and calling your opponent Hitler, you're going to wind up with things like this.
Yeah, you both are absolutely right. And what we have is not only really hot rhetoric, but almost calls to violence. If you listen to the inference in all of those statements, and those aren't just from fringe people, those are the candidates that are running for president and vice president, and also many of their, top surrogates and talking heads. And so you end up with folks out there that are willing to take this risk in trying to advance, their agenda, which again, we don't even know what their agenda is because they won't go on the record and tell us what they're for or what they want to advance. But remember, the FBI has been looking for radical domestic extremism, and I think they're looking in the wrong place because obviously we've seen two examples of folks that have showed up with a desire to kill President Trump, and they were nowhere on the FBI's radar. And I think that's the deep questions that are not being addressed right now.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you can look, and it's on Congressman Matt Gaetz's website. There have been numerous articles on informants within Trump's campaign since 2018. And now they're almost certainly a lot closer to finding out who on earth is giving out this information. So at least that now is a huge, huge search or objective of Trump's campaign to find that out. I think that it's very likely they've found out who it is or who it possibly could be. Hit subscribe to this channel, people. We're growing, and we're almost at 269,000 subscribers, on to 270 and into 300 and beyond. Thank you so much. Be here in November, people. Huge, huge, huge moment in American history, and it'll be a beautiful, wonderful moment.